Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are tonight's entertainment. I only have one question. Why so serious?
I met with Heath, and he really seemed to relate to what I was talking about. He seemed to understand how this character could be extraordinarily frightening and fresh and different than anything that had been done before. And Heath was just ready to do it. He was ready to do something that big.
I really loved Batman Begins, and the Joker, the character of the Joker, was just too good to turn down. I've said this before, but if Tim Burton was doing The Dark Knight and asked me to play the Joker, I wouldn't have taken it. To touch what Jack Nicholson did in Tim Burton's world would be a crime. And so when Chris came to me, and I knew how Chris was, he'd already set up the world for me. I'd seen what world it was that I would be playing in. So I knew it was open for a fresh interpretation, and I also instantly kind of had something up my sleeve, which happened to be exactly what Chris was kind of looking for. We sat down and kind of shared ideas, and they were the same, and so we just went with it.
It was a tremendous thing to be involved with, because Heath didn't do many films, and he would wait a long time between films. As he put it to me, he would wait until he felt he needed to go out and do something else. Like, he really would wait until he was hungry. He'd wait a little bit too long on purpose so that he'd be so desperate to do it. The biggest challenge in dealing with these three movies was definitely taking on these icons. I mean, these are characters who've been beloved for decades, and they've been reinterpreted and worked on by great artists and writers and other filmmakers, over the years. And so that's very frightening, because you're saying, okay, I'm going out there and I'm saying, I've got a version of this that's going to be different. I've got a version of this that is worthwhile. Then you've got to really deliver the goods on that. And that's been the biggest challenge for everybody involved with the films, I think, from the technicians to the actors and so forth.
Heath and John Caglioni's makeup artist and myself are trying to figure out a way to take the clown makeup but make it more threatening somehow, more real world.
I mean, I showed Heath Francis Bacon paintings, sort of looked at these great canvases, the way you'd smear the faces, the paint of the faces, and make these very bizarre, blurred sort of distortions, as if the paint is running on the canvas or smeared across it. And Heath, together with John Caglioni, his makeup artist, they really managed to put together a great texture for that, and it degrades through the film. It has a very tactile sense. You can really see the form of the makeup as it's caked on the face. And I like to say that what we were after, and I think what they very much achieved, is in the big close-ups of the Joker, particularly in the IMAX format. I think you can really almost smell his breath.
And then the thing Heath had figured out is, he said he wanted to have John design it, and then at least once or twice in prep apply the makeup himself, as the character would. And figured we'd just get something from that about how that would work. And of course the thing we got for it is, if you watch the film, he's got traces of makeup on his fingers the whole time, because as he would. And
so we would experiment with pieces of it. What would the shoes be? I think the shoes were actually the first thing that Lindy found that Heath was like, no, those are exactly the right shoes.
This wall is the sort of conglomeration of all the images that we started out with. I wrote there Terence Stamp, Bill Wyman, Iggy Pop, Adam Ant, Keith Richards. This is a sort of, like an amalgam of shirt fabrics and ties. Everything with a little bit of edge and a bit of jagginess. And these are his colour, different colours, kind of safely going towards a really black purple, and then thinking, no, we've got to do it, come back here to the purple,
The vanity, the peacock aspect, particularly with the Joker, it was very important that we somehow bury that. And the way we did it is, the clothes are flamboyant. We looked to begin with it, could he just not have the purple suit? Could he not have the green hair? Could it be, something more pedestrian, more everyday? And once you strip away those elements of the iconography, it's not the Joker anymore, we found. And so we wound up building back towards this quite flamboyant character. But
the way in which we chose to bury it is to have that anti-dandy, if you like, that you get from the sort of punk sensibility, this idea that the clothes are grubby and degraded, as if he wears the same thing the whole time, you know, as if he's been out all night, never takes his clothes off, never washes, and he just sleeps that way and probably smells absolutely appalling. That, to me, was a way of creating the texture of somebody who, in a sense, doesn't care about their appearance, even though, in fact, obviously, there's a great style with which they put themselves together.
He would sneak up on something, and so you couldn't really sit there and go, okay, today you're going to do the Joker. You're going to show me what it's going to be. You know, you had to sort of say, okay, why don't we read this scene? Don't act it, we'll just read it. And then, you know, we'd read it with Christian, and then there'd be a line or two where you just heard him doing something with his voice that was a little different, whatever, but nothing too... You throw in a little bit of a laugh or a little bit of... But never kind of saying, okay, this is it. And so the hair and makeup tests we did, which we filmed on 35mm and everything, they were his chance to start exploring that. And, you know, Wally would light some stuff for him, we'd get the handheld camera out, whatever, and he would try the coat on, try different knives, different weapons, and all that, and start to move with it.
He'd sort of give me hints about what he was going to do, and we'd talk about it a bit, and I would try and be an audience for him, or sort of gauge with him, you know, what he was doing. But a lot of it was about unpredictability, and I think he wanted to play his cards a little closer to the chest, so he would very gradually reveal to me the voice and the way, you know, he was going to do things and all the rest, but not in one go, like, oh, here's the Joker. We watched him sort of develop it with the wardrobe and the makeup and everything, and kind of, you know, I got to be a part of that creative process, which was great fun. But on set, there were always moments like that clapping, or things he would do with his voice. His voice was so unpredictable. He created this bizarre pitch that I've seen a lot of people try to imitate since, but you never quite knew whether he was going to go high or whether he was going to go low. You never knew what that guy was going to do, and that was what was terrifying about it.
I don't know what people are going to think. I was imagining a much more traditional, you know, sense of it or whatever, but then, you know, I just trusted him because he was, you know, he'd really worked on it. He was a terrific actor. But I can remember watching the crew respond the first time he would really use that voice and really talk. And you know, you could feel it, everybody could feel that he was doing something very special. So just as in his physical movements, you don't know how he's going to move, you don't know what he's going to do with his hands. It's always a surprise. It was really amazing to sort of find the character because of the Joker, and he understood this. It's so much about the appearance of the character. Cinema acting, film acting has gone through various phases. You know, and if you think about the more external acting of Olivier or Charles Lawton, or, you know, that then becoming the sort of method, and you get Brando and then, you know, De Niro and Pacino and everything, where it all becomes internal. But Heath was one of younger actors today, and Tom Hardy is another one I work with, where the two things kind of come together. So there's an interior process that goes on, and Heath was very diligent about figuring that out. But he's also thinking about how the props and the costume are going to affect the movement, the walk. There's an external sense that harkens back to almost silent films. Right from when he's standing on that street corner, there's a particular aspect to him. It's like Buster Keaton or something. There's a physicality that is telling you a lot about the character.
So far, it's definitely the most fun I've had with any character. It's just out of control. He has no empathy. He's a sociopath, psychotic, mass-murdering clown, and I'm just thoroughly enjoying it. Like, it's exceeded any expectations I've had.
If you can show a scale of destruction and random, terrifying destruction that the character of the Joker is prepared to unleash, and if you can continually kind of hammer this with the audience over the course of the story, you reach a point where you really don't know what's possible, what's not possible, what's allowed in this story and what's not allowed in this story. And I think that makes the Joker become a very, very unpredictable character. I think at times you really do feel he's prepared to do absolutely anything. So that the physicality of the story is all geared towards getting to a point near the end of the movie where you're actually concerned that the whole city will go down. You're actually concerned that this guy is going to completely destabilize that society.
It doesn't really have an arc to the Joker. This is not the origin of the Joker, this is the rise of the Joker.
he cuts through the movie like the shark in Jaws or something like that. I think Heath has done an incredible job in the film, and what's important to me and what's been gratifying about this process so far is people are watching the film and they're getting the performance in the way that Heath intended. And I felt that to be my responsibility in putting the film together. So I'm very, very gratified, that people are seeing just the great work that he put into this character. I think it's an extraordinary, extraordinary piece of acting.